Welcome to VLearn, Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 35 of the subject India, earliest times to the 8th century AD, and the chapter is Kingdoms in the Deccan and South India. Topics to be covered are Introduction, Political Situation in the Deccan till the mid-6th century AD, Political Situation in South India, the rise of the Chalukyas, the Pallavas and the Pandyas, conflicts between different powers, political organization, relations between different categories of rulers. Introduction. People often speak of India south of the Vindhyas as South India or the Deccan. This division has been made for a long time. Indeed, as early as ancient India, when the area south of the Vindhyas was called Dakshinapatha or the Southern Territory. Dakhina became the Deccan of medieval times, from which in turn the Deccan is derived. But historians and geographers have found it more useful to distinguish the Deccan proper from the rest of South India. The Deccan consists of Maharashtra and northern Karnataka, and as far as the double deltas of the Godavari and the Krishna. Political situation in the Deccan till the mid-6th century AD. After the decline of the Satavahanas, the political control of the Deccan under one dynasty came to an end. A number of kingdoms arose in different regions as successors of the Satavahanas. After the decline of the Satavahanas, the political control of the Deccan that which was under one dynasty, that came to an end, and a lot of different dynasties, rulers, kingdoms arose in different regions as successors of the Satavahanas. In northern Maharashtra, we see the Abhiras, who for a time served as army commanders in the Saka kingdoms, founding a kingdom in mid-3rd century AD. The founder of this line was one Iswar Sena, who began an era in AD 248 to 49. This era became very important later and came to be known as Kaluchri Chedi era. Vidarbha, Maharashtra. The Maharashtra plateau soon came to be dominated by the Vakatakas. They began as minor kings from the last quarter of the 3rd century AD, but rapidly gained in power and extended their sway over most of Maharashtra and adjoining parts of Madhya Pradesh. So the Maharashtra plateau that soon came to be dominated by the Vakatakas, they began as minor kings from the last quarter, but they rapidly gained in power. They extended their power and they extended their sway over most of the areas of Maharashtra and adjoining parts of Madhya Pradesh as well. So earlier they started as very minor kings, and after that they extended their power and sway over Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. There were two lines of Vakataka kings ruling in different areas. The main line ruled from eastern Maharashtra, while a collateral branch called the Basin branch of the Vakatakas ruled in southern Maharashtra. Karnataka. In the coastal strip of northern Karnataka and adjoining areas, a small kingdom was carved out by the Chutus. They ruled till about the mid-4th century AD, and when they were supplanted by the Kadambas. The kingdom was founded by the famous Mayurasarman, who was an expert in guerrilla warfare and compelled the Pallavas of Kanchi to recognize his sovereignty. So in Karnataka, the coastal strip of northern Karnataka and adjoining areas, a small kingdom was also carved out by the Chutus. They ruled till the mid-4th century AD, and the kingdom was founded by Mayasurman. And Mayasurman was an expert in guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare, when they were hiding, and when the enemy came, they were making attack on them. They were hiding, and when the kings came, they were attacking on them. They were not coming in front, or they were not coming in the forefront to attack. So that is guerrilla warfare. He then performed horse sacrifices and became Maurya Varman from Mayurasarman, that is a Kshatriya from a Brahman. So he became a Kshatriya from a Brahman. Eastern Deccan. Politically, the most disturbed region in the post-Satvahana Deccan was the fertile Krishna Godavari Delta, Andhra Delta in the east. Here the Satavahanas were succeeded by the Ikshvakus, who were in control of this region from 225 AD. There was a break in their rule by the coming of Abhiras from the west, but it was a brief interregnum, and the Ishvakus came back and ruled for the next 50 years or so. So in Eastern Deccan, politically, it was the most disturbed region in the post Satvahana Deccan, that was the fertile Krishna Godavari Delta, and after that it was succeeded by Ikshvakus, who were in control of this region, and there was also came a break in their rule by the coming of Abhiraj from the west, but it was a brief rule, and Ikshvakus came back and ruled for another 50 years. South Karnataka. In South Karnataka, there arose a dynasty at the beginning of the 5th century AD. The kings of this dynasty are called Gangas or Western Gangas to distinguish them from Eastern Ganges of Orissa. So the Western Gangas, they ruled over South Karnataka for the next 600 years. Because of such a long association, the area came to be called Gangavadi. Gangavadi is an isolated territory surrounded by mountains, and it is relatively less prosperous agriculturally also. So the Western Gangas, they ruled over South Karnataka for the next 600 years. Because of such a long association with the Gangas also, the area came to be called as Gangavadi only, because with the Western Gangas as well as with the Eastern Gangas, the area had a long association. That is why they were known as Gangavadi. And Gangavadi is an isolated territory. It is not seen, it is an isolated territory that is surrounded by mountains, and the agriculture is also less prosperous in that area. Political situation in South India. The Sangam period in Tamil Nadu and Kerala drew to a close about the end of the 3rd century AD. The history of this area from the 4th to the mid 6th century AD is very obscure. The early history of the Pallavas belongs to this period. We have their copper plate charters that were issued from Kanchi. Pallava rule was traditionally associated with the Kanchi region or Tondiya Mandalam, but it seems that during this period the Kanchi region was not under their effective control, as they had been pushed north by mountainous tribes called Kalabhras. So the early history of the Pallavas, it belongs to this period, and we have also their copper plate charters that were issued from Kanchi. So the Pallava rule was associated with the Kanchi region, and it seems that during this period the Kanchi region was not under their effective control, as they had been pushed, as they were pushed to north by the mountainous tribes, and they were called as Kalabhras. So the Sangam period in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they went to the close about the end of the 3rd century AD. The rise of the Chalukyas, the Pallavas and the Pandyas. From this mid 6th century AD, the political scene in the Deccan and South India was dominated by the activities of 3 powers. So the Chalukyas of Badami, the Pallavas of Kanchi, and the Pandyas of Madura. The Chalukyas, Pallavas and Pandyas, they dominated the whole Deccan in the mid 6th century AD. The Chalukyas, they became a sovereign power with Pulakesin I. He laid the foundations of his kingdom by making the hill near Badami in the Bijapur district of Karnataka into a strong fortress in 543-44 AD and performed a horse sacrifice. So the Chalukyas, they became a sovereign power, they became an independent power, and they also, the Chalukyas, Pulakesin, he laid the foundations of this kingdom by making the hill near Badami in the Bijapur district of Karnataka into a strong fortress, and he also performed a horse sacrifice. His successors overthrew the Kadambas and annexed their kingdom gradually. So his successors, they overthrew the Kadambas and also subjugated the Mauryas of Konkan. With the expeditions of Pulakesin II, the Chalukyas became the paramount power in the Deccan, as the Western Gangas and the Alupas in the south, and the Latas as well as Malavas. The Pallavas. The rise of the Pallava began with Simha Vishnu about the middle of the 6th century AD. He put an end to the Kalabhra integrum in Tandai Mandalam and extended his kingdom southward up to the Kaveri Delta. He was succeeded by Mahendravarman I, who annexed territories in the north up to the river Krishna. The Pallava kings also secured submission from the neighboring chieftains and kings, and thus reached the zone of influence of the Chalukyas of Badami and of the Pandyas. So he was succeeded by Mahendravarman, who took the territories in the north up to the river of Krishna. The rise of the Chalukyas, the Pandyas. The Pandyas came to light with King Kadungan towards the close of the 6th century AD when he suppressed the Kalabhras. The Pandyas ruled in the southernmost districts of Tamil Nadu with the Vegai river basin as the heartland of the kingdom. They constantly tried to extend their sway over the Kaveri delta in the north and Sera country, Kerala, in the southwest. So they came to light with King Kadungan towards the close of 6th century, and when that king suppressed the Kalabhras, the Pandyas ruled in southernmost districts with the Vagai river basin as the heartland of that region. So they try to extend their base and sway over the Kaveri delta in the north and Kerala. Other powers. The Kangas continued to rule in Gangavadi in South Karnataka, and besides there were several other small kingdoms and chieftaincies in the Deccan and South India at this time, such as the Nolambas, the Banas, the Silharas, etc. Unlike in northern India, there are no continuous stretches of river valleys and plains here. The major river valleys such as the Raichur Doab, the Krishna Godavari Delta, the lower Kaveral Valley and the Vagai Valley are separated from each other by rugged mountainous territories. Conflicts between different powers. The political history of this period is marked by frequent wars between the Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas, and between Pandyas and the Pallavas. Hostilities began with the raid of Chalukyas Pulakeshin II, who defeated Mahendravarman and occupied the northern part of Pallava kingdom. So hostilities began with the raid of Chalukyas when Pulakeshin II he defeated Mahendravarman and occupied the Pallava kingdom, the northern part of Pallava kingdom. In another campaign, he vanquished the Banas and once again threatened Kanchi, but he was badly defeated in several battles by Narasimhavarman I, who had succeeded Mahendravarman. Narasimhavarman then attacked the Chalukyas, captured Badami and probably killed Pulakeshin II. The role of the minor kings. The lesser kings and chieftains took part in the conflict of the regional kingdoms as subordinate allies of one or the other of these powers. Pulakeshin II had to subdue the Banas allies of the Pallavas before attacking Narasimhavarman I. Similarly, Pallava general Uday Chandra engaged in battles with Sabara king Udayana and Nishada chieftain Prithvi Vighara, who probably sided with the Chalukyas. These subordinate allies shared not only in the plunder but could also they added new areas to their realm as well. So they not only the subordinate allies they not only shared the plunder, but they also added new areas to their realm and to their area as well. Other dimensions of political conflicts. An important offshoot of the Pallava-Chalukya conflict was the emergence of the kingdom of the Chalukyas of Lata or South Gujarat. As a result of Narasimhavarman's occupation of Badami and the death of Pulakeshin II, there was terrible confusion and political disorder in the Chalukya kingdom. In the task of restoring unity to it and suppressing the hostile forces and of driving out the Chalukyas, Vikramaditya I had been greatly helped by his younger brother Jayasimhavarman. So, as a result of Narasimhavarman's occupation of Badami and death of Pulakeshin II, there was confusion and political disorder, and that was sorted out by the younger brother of Vikramaditya I, that is Jayasimhavarman. Relations with other countries. A noteworthy feature of South Indian politics at this time was an active interest in the political affairs of Sri Lanka. In the battles with the Chalukyas, we hear that Narasimhavarman first had a Lankan prince Mahavarma on his side. He had been driven into exile and had sought refuge at the Pallavan court. After his return from Badami, Narasimhavarman helped Mahavarma to gain the throne at Anuradhapura by sending 2 naval expeditions. So he had been driven into exile, and after his return from Badami, Narasimhavarman helped Mahavarma to gain the throne. Kerala. Kerala seems to have continued under the rule of the Perumals in this period, although the details of the political history of the period are lacking. A famous ruler in this line was Charaman Perumal. He seems to have pursued his religion and religious policy in some extraordinary manner, so that the Jains, Christians, Savatis and Muslims do not just praise him as a patron but actually claim him as a practitioner of their own religion. The prosperity of Malabar constantly attracted invaders from outside. Political organization, the king and the higher stratum of administration. We shall now proceed to discuss the patterns of administration that prevailed in these kingdoms. In theory, the king was the source of all authority. He assumed high-sounding titles such as Maharaja, Bhattarka, Dharma Maharaja, Dhiraja, etc. In the beginning, kingship was governed by the Vedic ideal. We find kings proclaiming in their inscriptions that they performed horse sacrifices and other Vedic sacrifices such as Vajapaya, Rajasuya, etc. Administrative units. The kingdom was divided into a hierarchy of administrative units. In the Deccan, these units were called Vaishya, Ahara, Rashtra, etc. From the 8th century AD, they developed a trend in the Deccan of dividing kingdoms into a hierarchy of the multiple of 10 villages, less often a district consisted of 12 villages. In the Pallava kingdom, the Nadu emerged as the main lasting unit of administration. The kings of this period realized the importance of agriculture, the revenue from which was the main basis of their wealth and strength. So agriculture, the revenue from which was the main basis, that was considered very important for their wealth and strength. Local associations. A characteristic feature of South Indian polity, especially Pallavan, was the importance of local corporate units in most important aspects of the lives of people. There were innumerable local groups and associations based on caste, craft, profession, or religious persuasion. So, a characteristic feature of South Indian polity was the importance of local corporate units in most aspects of the lives of people. Thus, there were associations of handicraftsmen like the weavers, oil pressers, etc., merchants like the Nanadesis, the Manigramam, and the 500 of Ayavol, of students, of ascetics, of temple priests, etc. Relations between different categories of rulers. The relations between big kings and their lesser allies is a matter of controversy. Broadly, there are two views about the relations between powerful kings and minor kings and chieftains. Firstly, it is said that smaller kings and chieftains regarded a big king, especially the Pallavas, as their overlord on religious grounds. The Pallava kings used to participate in elaborate religious ceremonies which gave them a high ritual status. It was this high ritual status that was respected by lesser kings and chiefs. This theory is not supported by historical evidence. That was all about Pallavas, Chalukyas and Pandavas. These are some of the questions. You have to do it yourself. Question number 1. Discuss the role of local associations in administration. Answer in 10 lines. And question number 2. Highlight the relations between different categories of rulers. Answer in 10 lines. That's all. Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.